West Coast Vancouver Island Chinook are important to First Nations along the West Coast, to commercial fishermen and recreational fisheries from Alaska down to the West Coast Vancouver Island. WCVI Chinook are a combination of hatchery fish and natural fish. The number of adults produced by the natural origin spawners is quite low. The status of WCVI Chinook changes from sound to sound. The lowest status, the poorest status, is in Clayoquot Sound. First Nations there are really worried about the abundance of fish, not enough for food, for social needs, let alone commercial and recreational opportunities. We're trying to find new ways of restoring, rebuilding stocks of concern. In this case, West Coast Vancouver Island Chinook. In the past, there's been lots of money spent on habitat restoration, reductions of fisheries, different kinds of enhancement, few of which have shown real success. A first step in developing a plan on how to move forward to rebuild the stock is to understand where the key factors are. So we conducted risk assessments in freshwater and in the marine area. And as we looked at all the available information from not just West Coast Vancouver Island, from elsewhere, gathered all that information, gathered experts, local knowledge holders together, we honed in on the key risks being the early marine component. The Follow the Fish program includes a suite of projects that follows the fish from the out-migration, through the estuaries, into the marine environment, through the first year of life along the West Coast Vancouver Island.
We're out in the Ha'uthli of Tloquit First Nation fishing for juvenile Chinook salmon, microtrolling for them. So microtrolling is a method where you use micro-sized hooks, flashers and spoons to fish off a downrigger. We fish for 5 minutes and then we see if we catch any juvenile Chinook. We started this program in response to a decline in productivity and survival of West Coast Vancouver Island Chinook. And we really want to understand, are there any factors or stressors in the juvenile stage that might be impacting their long-term survival? So that's what we're investigating.
The Follow the Fish suite of projects has a broad base, lots of people involved in the different projects. They may be experts from DFO, they may be experts from outside DFO, there may be local First Nations knowledge holders, broad spectrum of people involved.
There's a bunch of different projects such as zooplankton sampling, so trying to understand what's the community of prey available in the water to juvenile Chinook. We have work looking at contaminants and biotoxins in fish tissues, but also biotoxins in the water, so that's harmful algal blooms that you'll see sometimes in the summer periods. We've got work just characterizing oceanographic conditions in the water, so taking CTD profiles to see what's the temperature, what's the oxygen, how do we relate that to fish health and potentially survival. And we've got work going on with the Pacific Salmon Foundation and Home Fisheries Society. They're collaborating on surveys we're doing to pit-tag Chinook and look at their survival from juvenile to adult. We've also got a project looking at genetic transcriptomics of all the gill tissues we're taking on the boat. So during microtrolling, we take a piece of the gill from the fish, and we can look at the stress that that fish is experiencing. So is it oxygen stress, temperature stress? Are there infectious diseases or parasites that that fish is experiencing? We can get all that information from one little gill clip using what's called as a fit chip panel. We've also got scientists working on environmental DNA, so taking water samples, and from that water sample, you can look at DNA that fish or other organisms has shed off, and you can see what's in the community just with the water sample. And we compare that with our fish information to get a good picture of what's happening in the fish and what's happening in the environment and how do they relate to each other.
These results are all coming together now. The Follow the Fish program has been in place for 4 to 5 years. It's now come to a close in 2026. Thousands of fish have been sampled. The results from the labs, from the fish themselves, from the environment are all coming together. And in the next few months, we're going to look at those results, do a risk assessment, and provide advice to the management and rebuilding of the stock.